I've increased my fees. I've narrowed my market. I've identified my ideal client. I've more effectively gone after that. And as a result, my business has turned around 180 degrees since last March. I had my highest grossing month ever this last month, ever, in my entire professional career. And it is simply related to the things that I was implementing in AIA. I am Dulcie Horowitz, and I am an architect in Thousand Oaks, Southern California. And this weekend has blown my mind. Two things in particular. One is I didn't even understand that I was holding on to some sort of pride about overworking. And that there's a odd sense of control for me there when it's absolutely useless, and that working smarter, not more. My head is not geared up for that. My head says harder will ensure certain results. And I drill myself into the ground when things are going well. And during the persuasion equation, when there was something about the technique, about, teaching that, where it was just simple questions, but it exposed a couple of core beliefs that are not functional, and they're not really even based in reality, that I didn't even know were happening, that are not useful, they're not helpful, and the reason why I have them is because it's uncomfortable for me to let them go. So the whole weekend for me was about, fight for your right to be uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, let it go and understand that life is bountiful and that there's no reason why you cannot be compensated to the value that you provide, for your clients. And I know that sounds so simplistic, and it maybe even sounds maybe too monetary or too based on money, you know what I mean? But it's not. It's based on scarcity fear. And so that was one thing I will say, that was one takeaway. And then, there are so many, it's hard. Well, the next one comes to mind is, one of the members was talking about her process and just the fearlessness with which she approached her process. And a long time ago, I call it the Chihuly effect. If you are able to just continue on, or I can't remember the movie, but it was like, have the mind of a goldfish. If things don't go well, forget about it 2 seconds later and just keep going, because it's the actual act of just keep going that everything really does fall into place, especially if you're solution focused. If you're solution focused and you're not fear based and you're not resentful, then all of a sudden the world will open up to you. So it was, I know it sounds a little bit hooey-looey or whatever, or like, some sort of self-actualization, weekend or whatever. But there's a very real way in which some of those core beliefs make me work in an ineffectual, unproductive, and they don't really even help my client. So it was very awesome and interesting, and I'm sure my husband will be thrilled because he stands outside of me and watches me behave this way, and he yells at me, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" But it was exposed to me, here in the ineffectuality of some of these belief systems. It breaks down to some very brass tacks. Visualizing the office. How many employees do I need to have? How can I delegate? How can I let go of control? Who are the people that I need to hire? What sort of project load do I need to take on in order to hire those particular people so that I can craft the life that I want? And charging the fees that are commensurate with someone who's been doing this for 30 years. My story is particular, but since I have been doing this for almost 30 years, and I had my own business since 2001, I've been doing this for quite some time. And quite honestly, I was a little tired. But now that my kids have grown, I actually thought, well, now I can hit it. I can hit it hard. But you know what, Eric? I was tired. And I was just kind of beat down by a lot of the typical problems that happen and stuff like that. And I saw Richard's videos on Instagram, and he addressed some of the things that I was having difficulties with. He full on This process fixed it. I've increased my fees. I've narrowed my market. I've identified my ideal client. I've more effectively gone after that. There's all these things. It's kind of like going to the gym. Like, and we all know what to do. I mean, we do. But then when you get into a group and they remind you, there's all these things that you could be doing. You're like, oh yeah, right. I've got to do that stuff. And then it works if you do it. If you implement these very simple, straightforward, logical things where I am getting myself out there so that people know that I'm available. There are people out there that need my particular brand of architecture, and I am capable of helping solely them. And I am specifically qualified to help them. But if I don't do a lot of these marketing things, they'll never know I exist. And as a result, my business has turned around 180 degrees since last March. I had my highest grossing month ever this last month, ever, in my entire professional career. And it is simply related to the things that I was implementing in AIA. And it's really not, I mean, there's nothing, I don't want to say there's nothing magical about it, because honestly, it does feel a little bit magical. But there are just certain things that if you do, and most people don't do them because they're uncomfortable, you know, that allow me to get out there to meet and greet the people that need me.
Well, you are an action taker. Yeah. And
I didn't know which actions to take. That's the thing. I was taking all the wrong actions. I was very, 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 very busy, but based on things that were fallible, you know. And this is where I would say my husband drove him crazy, because he'd be like, oh my, what do you, you know. But then when you get in a group of architects and someone like yourself and also Richard, who are specializing in marketing, where this is what you do for a living, well, then I'll listen. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, then I take actions that actually work, as opposed to spinning my wheels in places that don't make any sense or produce anything, or even, to be honest, help my client. A year from now, I will probably have 1 to 2 more employees, and I will delegate a lot more, and I will have a lot more free time, and I will be charging even more than I'm charging, you know, and rightfully so, and serving my clients very well. But the weird thing is that I have already done one of these, and the change in my business from the summit that I did in September in New York was phenomenal. I learned 5 software programs in Q4 of 2023. I never would have uptaken any of that. So I can imagine that someone who's been in this business for, I don't know, I've had my own business for 20, 21, 22 years, and all of a sudden, because it's an old dog, it takes a lot from an old dog to learn new tricks, and yet I was embracing it. I have virtual reality now, I have Morpholio now, I can work on ChatGPT, Midjourney, all these things, and so, I hate to say it, but I feel young again. Like, I feel rejuvenated. I feel like the wonder of life is kind of back. You know, instead of me thinking that I know exactly what's going to happen, I don't. I really don't. And I'm willing to risk it, and things are surprising me. And it's just incredible.